I'm prepared to be amazed.
I love you.
20 seconds. Showtime. 15. 10. 5. 4. Pray.
Our place, where we can dream and share it. Our place, we'll find a friend to care it.
Woo! We are Our Place Out Loud. I am your lovely and captivating host, Louise Palanker, here with a panel of teens, wonderful and wise teens. We've got Jake in the studio, we've got Kimute, and we've got Nico. And we have girls usually. This week, apparently, some sort of girl memo went out that said, don't go to that show this week. It's not okay to go. You shouldn't go. And I didn't get the girl memo. I'm here. Trish is here. I think we're like the only females up in the hizzy, except we've got a wonderful female on the phone. Let's introduce her. Her name is Winter Vinecki. Hello, Winter.
Hello.
Hello. And she is calling into the show from Oregon, did you say?
Yes, Salem, Oregon.
Salem, Oregon, where she lives. And Winter is a world champion marathon runner, also training for the Olympics in aerial. What's the name of your event?
Aerial skiing.
So you ski in the
going
sky.
off the jumps.
You ski in the sky. They don't need snow to ski. They just need the sky.
That's great.
And they are skiing. And but you do all kinds of jumps and tricks, and then you wind up back on the ground at some point, yes?
Yeah, basically you go off the jumps on whether it's on the water ramps, which we train on in the summer, or like on snow, which is on snow jumps, and you get up in the air, do a bunch of flips and twists, and then land back on the snow.
It looks really, really fun, and I wish I could do it, but I don't think I should try because I enjoy life. But let's talk about your marathon running and how you came up with the concept, or explain the concept that you're going to run a marathon on all 7 continents. Is that how many continents there are? Because I'm not good at math.
Yeah, so I recently completed a marathon on all 7 continents and now hold the world record for the youngest person in the world to do that. And so I originally had this dream since I was just 9 years old. After I lost my dad to prostate cancer, I was looking for something bigger and kind of better to do. And so that's when I came across the book, the record in the world record book, and decided I want to do this for my dad.
Wow. So you've done all 7 continents?
Yeah.
Okay, which continent has the dirtiest bathrooms?
The dirtiest bathrooms.
Asking the hard questions.
That's a tough question. I think Kenya had in the Nairobi airport in some of the bathroom stalls. It's basically a concrete slab with a hole in the ground.
Yeah, I saw it on Yelp. I know. I don't
Why
know.
were you looking up
I did.
bathroom stalls?
I did. 5
out of 5.
Wow,
it was
really?
crap.
A hole in the ground at the airport. And so, because to me, that's like the bravest thing about going to different continents is that, Americans are kind of spoiled. But you have to go to the bathroom and then keep running, right? Or you don't go to the bathroom, you just run.
Well, during the races, I usually don't stop for bathroom breaks. Just keep going and hold it till you get to the finish.
That is really brave. It's about the bravest part of what she does.
Yeah,
I
not
think.
using the bathroom. That's crazy.
Okay, so what is your average marathon time then?
That's a very tough question because I started off at pretty fast sports. It was road 50 degrees, and that was in Eugene, Oregon, and I completed that one in a time of 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow.
And that was my fastest one. And since the courses have been so different, they've all kind of varied completely. Like when I went to Antarctica, you're running up and down these ice-covered hills and sliding down. Most people fell. Luckily, I was one of them who didn't.
Wow.
But so then, times like that, I think I did it in like 4:50, and then, going to the Inca Trail, which you're running on a course that most people hike in 4 days.
Right.
And that was about 9 hours, which was labeled the toughest marathon in the world. So I don't really have an average time.
Did you train in that altitude before you did the Inca Trail?
You know, for most of the year, I actually live out in Park City, Utah, where I train on the Olympic development team for air skiing. And out there, it's about at 7,000 feet. And so I did a few training runs, maybe up to 9,000 feet, but nothing like 14,000, which is where we got up to in the marathon.
Oh my gosh, how impressive! And do you have a moment to just appreciate the beauty of where you are?
You know, I think not as much as I would like to when I'm running.
Yeah.
I'm usually very focused, and so I really have to tell myself, okay, just take a minute and look around you. And, you know, it's hard sometimes when you're trail running because you're always trying to pay attention to the ground, make sure you don't fall, trip on anything. And so, you know, I think I definitely, before and after the races, mainly when I get to see everything and take in all the beauty.
Boys, do you have a question for Winter?
Yeah, I have a question. What would you say is the, like, preparing for a marathon and running it, including all that, what's the hardest part, like, of that whole process?
I think probably the hardest part is those days where I have long training runs and I have, you know, school to do and aerial skiing training at the same time, and I just don't feel like getting up at 5 in the morning to go. And like when I was training for Antarctica, it was 5 degrees out, -5, I think.
Jeez.
And so, you know, days like that, I just have to roll out of bed and get up and do those 60-mile runs, which, you know, I love marathon races, but the training for them is especially hard.
Is there something that you do that makes you get up and just run it, or is it just sheer willpower that you just make yourself do it?
I think I just think of, you know, how after I get done with the run, it'll be well worth it. And, you know, I'll be so much more happy and, when I cross that finish line of the marathon, knowing that I did as much as I could to prepare and get ready for the race. So it's mainly just, you know, digging deep to realize that it'll be worth it in the long run.
Rico?
So I can barely walk a mile. So you're awesome. You're just crazy. It's great. I want to ask, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you while you're running a marathon?
Oh, goodness.
Guess I'm good.
Let's see. Well, I don't know if well, okay, so I wasn't there, but in Antarctica, when some people were running, you know, we were running on this course, and basically it was these out and back loops. And I was on the opposite side of the loop, though, when it happened, but there was a seal that came on the course and was barking at the people as they were trying to run by, so they have to stop and go all the way around.
What?
And so that was,
A
I
seal?
think that's the most adventure during a marathon besides the actual running.
I didn't know seals barked.
Oh, if seals bark.
Is that like an
Maybe.
interference or something at
It's
least?
interference.
Or
Yeah. An extra man on the field.
could that be set up by the other competitors?
Definitely a foul. Exactly. So tell us about your dad. What kind of man was he, and what did you learn from him?
You know, I think my dad he was a musician growing up, and so ever since he was 5 years old, he grew up playing in polka bands, and, you know, he started doing some country music later on, and he was 100% Polish, and so I'm about 50% Polish, and so we have a lot of Polish traditions that we would always go over to his parents' house to do. But basically, he wasn't much of an athlete growing up. He only started doing races and running after he saw us doing it, and he ran a few 5Ks and 10Ks with me. But musician and music was his main passion, and he was an auctioneer and helped do real estate.
So he sounds like a really interesting guy, and you're running to benefit the illness that took your dad, which is prostate cancer, and help find a cure. And I actually watched some YouTube videos where you got a chance to go into the lab and meet some of the scientists who are using the money you're raising to help find a cure. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
basically, I started Team Winter when I was 9 years old, when my dad was first diagnosed with prostate cancer on his 40th birthday, and he sadly only lived 10 months after the time he was diagnosed. This is the type of prostate cancer that he had was very aggressive and metastasized throughout his body, and so he passed away just 10 months after. And I still, that kind of just fueled my drive even more to continue Team Winter. I've now helped raise close to $500,000 for prostate cancer awareness.
So,
With that money, most of it goes to the Prostate Cancer Foundation, and we recently talked, and they've actually, with the money that I've helped fundraise, it has gone to help develop a new drug to help treat some of those cancers that are very aggressive, like the ones my dad had. And so seeing, how they're actually using all the money that I'm fundraising and finding new drugs and finding new medications to help the cancer that took my dad's life is, just amazing.
so how does your running raise money?
Through my running, there's various different ways Team Winter raises money. The first is through our online store, and basically everything we sell through the Team Winter online store goes directly to prostate cancer awareness. And then another way of raising the funds is that our Team Winter athletes, they raise money. And so, they'll go out and do bake sales or put on 5Ks or mud run events or golf outings, various different things to get money, and then they donate it to Team Winter. And then the third thing is that Team Winter has different events. Like recently in September, we had a 6 event, which is 1 in 6. It stands for the 1 in 6 men who are affected by prostate cancer. And that event was all throughout the month of September. People basically logged their miles on athlete.com, and they had people pledge for mile in order to, raise funds for Team Winter. So there's various different kinds of, raising awareness and funds type activities.
It's fantastic. It's just really, really commendable, and I know it makes you feel like you're part of the solution, and that's just must be just a wonderful feeling. Our show is we talk about teen issues and everything, and even within all of this wonderful grown-up work that you're doing, you're still a 14-year-old kid, right?
Yeah, definitely. I still, love to go hang out with my friends, go shopping, go to the movies, hang out with my brothers.
So what are some of the things that you are challenged by? Because I know it's not easy being a teenager, and we deal with those questions every day in our app, Our Place, and here on the show. What are some of the challenges that you faced with maybe not having as much time to socialize as a typical 14-year-old girl?
I think one of the biggest challenges for me is not being able to compete in school sports and do some of the school activities that I would normally be able to do. But right now I'm online schooled through Stanford University, and so basically all my classes are through my computer in order to allow me to have more time to do all these extra events like the Team Winter and training for aerial skiing. So I just don't have time to go to public school, taking up 7 hours in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know if I'd change to go back to public school, but I definitely kind of miss out sometimes on, going to track meets and being able to participate in school events.
Mm-hmm. So tell us the name of your website just to make sure that everybody knows where to find you online.
The website is teamwinter.org.
So it's Team Winter, TEAIM, Winter, like the season, .org. She is, contrary to popular belief, she's not part of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
Okay.
Because at first I thought she was one of the Four Seasons, but she is not. That's a different person named Winter.
Putting those rumors to rest.
Or maybe someone named Bob. You can go to Broadway and watch the musical and find the truth about that. Teamwinter.org is now on the screen. Thank you so much for being with us, Winter. We're so proud of you, and we're going to have more of Winter featured in the Our Place app. She's going to have her own column so that if you have questions for Winter, she will be in there to answer them. And we really do appreciate it, and we're cheering you on Go Winter.
The winner.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for calling.
Thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye. We're at
Talk to you later.
Yes, absolutely. 888-531-7171. Olivia, if you're listening, you may now call in. Should we jump in and get a question done before the phone rings? Because we're so popular. Kenna writes, I think my recently separated parents are having a contest to see who can post the most pictures of me and my siblings on their Facebook page. Isn't it fascinating when the grown-ups start acting like the children? And when that happens, what do the children do? What to do? Any thoughts?
Address this. Talk to your parents and say, I mean, if you don't like it, tell them and say, it seems like you guys are competing or something, and it kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. I mean, that's what I would do.
They probably are competing, yeah. It doesn't really say she doesn't like it. Maybe she's liking all the extra attention.
Yeah, I mean...
But I wouldn't exactly want my parents fighting over me.
Yeah, it would make me a little bit uncomfortable, I think, to see them. I mean, it would make me uncomfortable even if they were together and they were not competing, just to see my parents posting a bunch of Facebook pictures. But when it gets to, like, them kind of being competitive with each other, it's kind of worse.
It's probably like they're separated. They want to know that their kid loves them more.
No, to me, it feels like they're showing the world, hey, look, I'm really involved with my kid.
Yeah.
Even though I left my spouse, I'm like a really, really great mom. Look at me. We went skiing in the air with Winter. Look, Jake.
They're kind of going through... I'm on camera, yeah, okay. They're kind of going through a lot of emotional stuff right now, and as long as it's not something that's physically or mentally harmful to you or not detrimental to your relationship with them, it may be just another thing that they have to go through. It may just be part of the process, because there's a lot of emotions that have to be dealt with here from all perspectives, and if it's not actually, like, detrimental to your relationship with either of them, then it may just have to be something that has to happen.
Unless they're dressing you up in clown outfits like they do the dog. Like, if they dress you up like they do the dog and make you pose for pictures, then you can say something.
You think they'll move on to the dog sometime soon and just start posting pictures of her?
Mm-hmm. Like, I do agree with Jake that let them go through it, because being divorced will become the new normal. And then it will be like, hey, you completely missed years 14, 15, and 16 and took no pictures of me at all. So it's a good thing I have a phone attached to my camera, or camera attached to my phone, or whatever. Otherwise, there'd be no proof that I ever was 14. Because it does, like, parents do go through, like, phases of, like, Uber photographing, and then, like, we were in Spain. I guess you were 14, but and good for you.
I guess.
Yeah, because if, like,
maybe,
like, the people that are grown-ups like me, you look back on your childhood and like, Mom, like, there's no pictures of me between the ages of 9 and 12. Am I like Jesus? Did I disappear? Like, what happened? You know, because it's like, like, my brother's like, there's no baby pictures of me because he's the youngest, and like, we have baby pictures of the other 3. They all look pretty much alike. So,
well,
yeah, so it's like,
just your parents should just tell your brother, oh yeah, that's you.
Exactly.
Even though it's not.
No, it's like, I mean, I kind of agree. Just like, you know what? If you feel like they're asking you to pose instead of enjoying a moment at the beach rather than saying, hey, pose. Like, just let it. Can we just have this moment without always stopping to pose? And I mean, you can say something, but go ahead, Jake.
Okay. This seems really hypocritical of you to say, considering for the past 16 years of my life, you've been documenting maybe at like 5-second intervals every single moment of my life.
It's a true fact. We could do a flip book and have you, like, grow up right in front of us. He's absolutely accurate. I have taken a lot of pictures of this boy, but one day you'll thank me.
Have you stopped? Have you, like, stopped at what's happening and said pose, or have you just been trying to capture?
I do, like, a lot of. I would say, I mean, Jake can answer that question best, because I mean, I definitely do. I like real life better than people posing. But I may say, hey, look back and pretend you're talking. Like, I may tell him to act like he's not posing, and I think that's even more worse than posing.
Yeah, a little bit.
So there's a lot of pictures of Jake pretending to talk, and like he now has his thinking look. Do your thinking look.
What, the stroking the imaginary beard thing? Yeah.
That's his new thing. So there's a lot of photographs of him. Like, look thoughtful. So we may have a phone call, and it may be Olivia. Jordan Chris Colfer. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Have you been listening to the show thus far?
Yes, I have.
What did you think of that winter? She's something else, huh?
Yes, I could never run. I can barely walk.
Well, then you and Nico are the perfect couple. Woo! Because you can stumble through
Sure.
life together. But because I was going to tell Winter that like it probably would be difficult for any guy to try and date her because he'd be like, "Hey, I really like you, and I think you're. Wait, where are you going? What? Okay, hold up."
Well, she's
Winter.
running away from him.
Yeah, she's hard to keep up with. But yeah. So did you want to talk about something specific tonight, or did you just want to keep up your record of? Oh, I think Kio's getting. Do you have a lady in your pocket that talks to you?
I think so.
That's a pretty cool. That's a pretty parlor trick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it scary?
Hey, Opal's live.
Opal is live. I got the announcement in my app. So what's going on with you, Mrs. Colfer?
Oh, I get to meet Chris Colfer on Saturday.
You're gonna meet him?
Yeah, he's doing
What?
another book signing in Houston.
Oh my God! Seriously? What time are you gonna get in line?
I don't know.
What are you gonna
really
say to
don't.
him? What are you gonna wear? There's so much to discuss.
I'm going to wear clothes. I think that's the best thing to wear.
Clothes are good.
It's always a good choice.
I'd wear a sack, but that's you.
You don't make that mistake twice.
You be you. Okay, so he's going to be at a book signing, so you're going to, that people are going to be lining up, like, starting early, right?
Yes,
Okay, so you're going to get there. Who's going to go there with you?
my mom.
And are you going to buy the book when you get there, or have you already read the book?
We purchased a ticket online.
Ooh. This is schmancy.
Ooh.
So we have to do some role play. I'm going to be Chris Colfer, and you're going to be you. Okay, you're now handing me your book. Ready? Hand
No.
You don't want to practice? You don't want to practice?
Well,
Hi,
I do.
nice
I just
to.
don't know what I'm saying. I still don't know what I'm
Well, that's what we're gonna work on.
Well, you practice.
Okay, hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for wearing clothes.
Come off as rude.
I've had this button since you like llamas, and it says Love a Llama, the Heifer Project.
Aww. That's a good impression of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're the best person in this entire line, and I'm so happy you're here. You made my day.
I wish you would say that.
I bet he does.
If he does,
Yeah.
I will tell you.
Okay, so he may not let you pose for pictures with him because then people have to go around the table, and sometimes at book signings they don't let people do that. But take a picture of you in line or something like that and post it on Instagram, and then do a tag at Our Place Network, okay?
I will.
Okay.
I was actually calling in because of the topic we were talking about, the pictures and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, go.
The divorced family.
Yeah.
Well, my parents do that, but they're not divorced. It's
Oh.
just that they're trying to, like, remember everything that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
even if it is kind of ridiculous, or like you're eating a bowl of soup. They want to remember that on November 19th, 2013 at 9:22 a.m. or something, that you ate a bowl of cereal. It's
Yeah.
also, my parents, they send stuff to my birth mother
Mm-hmm.
because that's something they agreed to do.
Oh, okay.
So
How does that make you feel?
I'm fine with it. I've gotten pictures
Mhm.
before. I didn't
Okay.
see them until last year, but I know.
Oh, well, I think that's interesting. Because have you met her?
No, the adoption agency won't let me meet her till I'm 18.
Oh, okay. Is that something you're going to want to pursue, do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that's good. I'm glad she's getting pictures of you because that helps the process a lot for her, and it will help you when you're old enough to meet her. Did you have something you want to say, Keo?
Just about the broad idea of pictures.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot about the type of people. Like, some people just like taking pictures a lot, and that kind of, like, some people, like, I'm not a person who takes a lot of pictures, so your parents are also just people who like to take pictures a lot, probably.
Yeah, and I find that as a photographer type of person, that as annoying as my nephew finds me, that sometimes other people are like, "Oh, I'm really glad you were taking pictures because I was busy doing this event, and now
Yeah.
I have a memory of it."
People like to have pictures even if they don't like to take pictures.
Yeah, like even though sometimes people complain, like when I was doing the documentary on the Cowsills, like they'd always complain that I was taking pictures, but then they'd be happy afterwards that I took pictures. So
Yeah.
sometimes the photographer takes a lot of guff, but then people are like happy that they have the pictures. But I think when your kids are growing up, it should be a balance between letting them have a moment and trying to capture a moment.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for calling, Mrs. Jordan Chris Colfer. And we want to hear all about you meeting your husband because we think he's fantastic. We are Our Place Out Loud, and I'm Louise Palanker here with Jake Kimute and Nico. And in the second half of the show, I should tease this now. It's very exciting. There's a guest who's coming all the way from down the hall to be here with us today. He's making that commute. And he's my husband, Ron, and he's a prosecutor, so he's going to talk about some legal stuff involving cyberbullying and things of that nature. But let's get another question in real quick. Tired of it all says, do I get made fun of at school? Yes, but I know they actually care and will do anything to see everyone in my class happy. My biggest bully is my father. I've never felt so unloved. Honestly, if I were to die right now, only 2 people would really care, and they aren't even related to me. So this question kind of goes all over the map a little bit because he's in a frustrated moment where he's just sort of spilling. But the part that caught my ear was where he says that his biggest bully is his father, because that can make you feel worse than anything. When everyone in the world is being nice to you, if you have a father who's a bully, that impacts and informs your entire life. Does anybody want to offer some advice for Tired of It All?
Yeah. I mean, for one, I think that you're wrong. I don't think that only 2 people would care. I just don't really believe that. I don't know for sure, but I feel like people can feel that way when they're in a situation, but people actually care when someone, and like the saying goes, you don't know what you have until it's gone, or whatever it is. And
and you just have to watch that one Jimmy Stewart movie to know that you don't want to take that chance because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
What do you mean exactly? Yes, but I know they actually care and will do anything to see everyone in my class happy.
I felt like the question, he started out typing one thing and then he got into another mood.
Yeah.
Midway through it.
I mean, it seems like he maybe gets made fun of, but the whole class kind of gets, like, maybe makes fun of each other and stuff, and it's not like a
it's just like
bully
they're messing
situation
with each other.
Yeah, that's kind of what the sense I got from that. Like,
he gets made fun of, but he like the way boys make fun of each other.
Yeah.
But he still knows that deep down they care about each other, and the biggest problem is that his father is his bully. So what do you recommend for that type of a situation? Because I don't see a dad like that changing.
Yeah.
With bullies in general, my advice would be not to care.
But
Just
when it's your dad?
but when it's your dad, again.
I
yeah,
mean, for one, you definitely need to talk to your mom if you haven't. That's something that, like, I don't know what the situation is with the whole family, but I think it's important to talk to your mom, some adult that you feel comfortable talking to. It's difficult when it's your dad because he's the one taking care of you, basically.
And if he's bullying the kids, he may also be bullying the mom, and he may be one of those domineering figures where everyone's kind of walking on eggshells. So
yeah.
It's a really tricky thing. I would recommend calling a helpline. It may not come to the point of abuse where you need Child Protective Services to intervene, but the kids that have had this kind of a childhood, they deal with issues of trust and authority figures. And
yeah, I always hesitate to say Child Protective Services because that's kind of scary. If it's not really serious like that, it gets scary to somebody who's like, oh well, I wasn't, like, it's not that serious of a thing. But
I wonder if you said to a dad like that, I feel like you're my bully. If he heard the word bully applied to himself when he thinks he's just being strict and trying to not raise a kid who's a wuss, or whatever his rationale is, that's the way his dad knocked him around or whatever. But if you actually use the word bully, if that would get his attention as, oh my God, I do not want to be seen as my child's bully.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm being harsher than I realize. Like, it's worth a try.
I mean, at the same time, if he really is the type of like aggressive person, then it might be dangerous to say something like that to him.
Yeah,
So.
there are certain fathers where the kids just learn really early, don't say anything.
Yeah.
And that's a really sad situation because no one should have to grow up in a house full of fear. It's not okay.
Yeah.
So we have my from down the hall. Oh, is Olivia on the phone? Oh, wonderful. Hello, Olivia.
Hello.
Hi. I wish if you had a copy of the script, I'd let you play the part of Jenny because I was gonna let.
I have a copy.
Okay. Do you want to play the? You have to do Jenny in a British accent, though. Are you willing to do that?
Oh, no.
No. You're an actress.
No, because she's going to listen and she's going to be like, oh, Olivia, stop it.
No,
But
she'll
she's
think it's
gonna-
adorable.
She'll hear this and she'll be like, "Oh, Wheezy made you do it."
So when when Jenny comes here, I swear to God, I'm going to make her do an impression of you.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't really do a British accent. I don't do that until junior year.
Oh, all right. Well, then do you want to play the part of Stay Beautiful Crazy and I'll be Jenny? We won't let any of the
Yeah.
kids be in Thread Theater. It'll just be you and me.
Yeah.
You ready? Okay, Thread Theater,
All right.
curtain up. Stay Beautiful Crazy. You go first.
I was looking at how to make yourself shorter, and they said drink tea in a hole with no sugar. Is that true? I was also looking on how to make your breasts grow naturally, and it said rub them with baby oil. Is this stuff true? And will this actually work?
No, there's no way to make yourself shorter, and there's no way to make your breasts grow. You are the size that you're meant to be, so let's just accept that and stop Googling weird ways to change the size of your body parts.
I don't know what region of England
I don't know
was
what
from.
that was.
It
but I
might have been
enjoyed it.
Scotland. I don't know. I didn't have a frame of reference. I should have just tried to sound like Harry Potter. But I love how matter-of-fact Jenny is. It's because probably she typed that after she stopped laughing.
Right.
Because I can't tell if that was a joke letter or not. What do you think?
No, it was definitely someone being very serious.
And there's somewhere on the internet where this advice is given?
Probably. I could Google it right now.
Or are there people
but-
just trying to
Don't
get
do that.
children into holes?
With sugar.
With
I mean, I remember when I was like
With no sugar.
12 and
Oh, with no
13.
sugar.
Don't screw it up, Keo.
But Jenny just gets right to the point. I love it. So yeah, there may be old wives' tales. I don't even know why they're called old wives. Why is it that wives are the ones telling these tales instead of just crazy people tales? Did you want to talk, Keo?
I just wanted to point out the sentence that she said. Like, it feels like it contradicts itself. She says, I was looking for how to make your breasts grow naturally. Like, if you're making them grow, then it's not natural.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But I like how she separated she says the tea and then the hole and then the no sugar. So it sounds like it has to be a hole with no sugar
yeah.
rather than tea with no sugar.
Okay, I really don't understand this. Is there like someplace I can just like hop in a hole and with no sugar? By the way, just
But
making
it's
sure.
like if you read her instructions, you'd get into the hole with your tea and then you'd be like, dang it, I have to get out of the hole and dump out the sugar.
This
I
seems like a
needed that
really-
information up front.
I don't care if this grows my breasts or not. This sounds like a really complicated process.
It's I think it's a matter of like we all at a certain point in our lives we go like, is this how I'm going to look? And then we wonder if there's some way to amend that, before we get to the finish line where it's like I can remember, and Trish and I are basically the same age, but I can remember girls doing this exercise where they would go, we must
We must
Yeah, it was
improve
in a
our
book.
best.
It was like in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
So did that work for anybody? Or did that just give people,
no.
tennis elbow and small boobs? I mean, we stood in line. My friends, there were girls that would stand in lines and do this. And I remember I did it, and then I thought, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't know if that works or even if I need for them to be any larger.
It was almost like if you were saying it, then it was going to happen. But if you were just doing the action, no way was it going to work.
You just gotta believe.
But then you can fly.
Say the magic words.
So I guess if we Googled all kinds of things like how do I get shorter or how do I get taller or how do I mean there are some things you can change, like maybe something you could rub on your head would make you not lose your hair like Rogaine or something like that. Like maybe, I mean, I think what's confusing for kids is that there are some things that do work for certain things. Like if you do a bunch of sit-ups, you may improve your core muscles. So there are some things that could change the way you look, like lifting certain weights or so that would make people believe, like, why aren't there things that would make me taller?
Also, there's things that like stunt your growth. Like if you work out
Yeah.
too much, then
It stunts your growth?
yeah.
If you start like
and
too
drinking
early,
coffee at a very young age.
yeah. If you like drink coffee,
But it's
or
like a lot. You
yeah,
have
if
to-
you,
it's like this
if you
is something
do-
you do every day, twice a day.
you have to be chugging
Um,
coffee for it to work.
Don't
I
do
don't
it.
think babies should drink coffee.
Don't do anything in excess.
The babies I rent don't get coffee.
Back to the babies. thing.
Jake,
We're go-
Jake,
Okay.
sorry.
Now it's renting. Okay.
Yes,
going back to
because
the-
I would never steal a baby.
Okay. Good.
Are we going back to previous
God.
episodes? Can I say I'm a perfect C cup again?
Nico said a few episodes ago, he said, "Well, I'm a perfect C cup, so I can." All right, go ahead, Jake.
What was I gonna
I don't know.
I'm so sorry.
We need-
Coffee. Right.
Right.
Coffee stunts your growth because it makes you not sleep, and sleeping makes you grow.
Oh.
Not because it actually makes you grow, but because it makes your spine not horribly compressed. So if you want to be short, don't sleep, but it's not going to make you short. It's just going to make you have bad posture, which isn't a good way to be short.
No, it's not. It's a good way to be hunched.
Yes, hunchback.
And no one describes someone that they admire as he's so hunched. He's
Look
just
at that
the
hunch.
most hunched dude. And I love that about him. Jenny, once again, thank you for your wisdom. Question from Yuzi. How do you know if someone truly is giving you the evil eye? This I need you on the phone
Oh,
for
you
this,
know.
Olivia. Yeah, that's what all the girls in the app were saying. But I was thinking the boys here aren't going to know anything about the evil eye because I don't know if they've ever given or received the evil eye. This is something that girls do. Not that I care whether or not they hate me, which is like anytime anyone types "not that I care," they
You
care.
care.
I just want to know for sure. Big smiley face. Ain't nobody got time for this sh. So I guess someone's given her the stink eye, and so in the app, I don't know if you saw it, Liv, but in the app, it was like people were like you. They were like, "Oh, if you got it, you would know." So
Yeah.
I don't know if like you fall backwards when you get it, but
No, it's just like you just feel their hate. And then you're like, ew, go away.
I know, and I
and
wish
then
you could.
just avoid that person.
All right, so are you watching the monitor? Can I tell you what I think it might look like, and then you can tell me whether or not I have it?
I'm not because I'm on my phone.
All right. So, guys, if you...
I'll let you know if I can feel the hate. Though.
Okay, so this would be the evil eye. I've never given it. I don't even think I've ever received it because I'm,
Just awesome.
Well, yeah, because I'm well-loved.
Nobody hates you.
But I would think that the evil eye would be like this.
I can see you trying not to smile.
I don't think I'm capable of doing it. All right, so does anyone know a girl who's done it, or can anyone...
Do it.
Has
I
anyone...
mean,
is
I've
this a thing?
definitely done it. I've done it today.
Oh, you did it
Like,
today?
My roommate needs to do her laundry. It's been almost 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So you can do it over casual things like that? Over laundry?
Like she'll be like, "Oh, I'm so busy. I don't have time for laundry," and then I just shoot it at her, and
Oh, you
she's just like, "Okay, I'll do it tomorrow."
Oh, it works. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
effective. All right, but what if it's like you're at school and this girl that you know has been saying things about you gives it to you? Like, then do you just receive it or do you give it back? Like, what's the protocol? It's
Or
like
you
bowing
just
in
walk up to
Japan.
them and you're just like, "Hey, what's that about?"
You say, "What's that about?" What's
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna be like, "What's what about?" They're gonna play dumb,
they're gonna act like they didn't give you the evil eye?
probably.
Hmm.
Either that or they'll
That's why they're
say,
giving.
"I don't like you."
That's why they're giving you the evil eye in the first place. They don't want confrontation. They just want you to, know what they're feeling.
Right. They're not saying anything. They're just giving you that look. So the rest of her note is what's so interesting about to me is it's kind of revealing that she says, "Not that I care whether or not they hate me. I just want to know for sure." And then she says she doesn't care, and then she says, "But I don't have time." So is it that she wants to just be able to look away and act like she didn't receive it, or what is she really feeling here? Because she asked the question, so she cares.
Well, I feel like, I mean, if you're dealing with a person, you want to know, like, you might not really care that they hate you, but you kind of want to know. Because if you're trying to be their friend and everything, and then it doesn't work out, then you waste a bunch of energy where you could have just known. So you'd rather know than not know, I think.
Jake?
Okay, two things. One, no one wants to be hated, but what's even worse than being hated is, like, spending way too much time trying to figure out if you are hated or not. That just sounds even worse. And two, I don't have, like, an evil eye, but I've done this thing to people where I walk up and I go, boop, which is where you boop them on the nose. And these are random strangers who I've just heard yelling a little bit too much.
Oh, you boop
like,
them. You can boop
Ryan,
people.
who's not here, he was...
he needs to be booped.
He was in a sports argument with some man who was like, football. And I walked up to him and went, boop, and turned around and walked away. I've never spoken to him. I do not know his name, but he has been booped. He has been warned.
I like it. You've given me the evil
He
eye.
has been warned.
You give me the... Yes, that's it. Do that on... Did you do that on
No.
camera?
What? Do what on camera?
Oh, my God. Are we going there? Really? And he gives it to me in public in front of his friends. If I take out my camera, which has maybe happened
Once or
at
twice.
an event where he's busy with friends and peer groups, he's given me the look, which means back off. And it looks a little something like,
Like what?
put the camera on you and do it.
Do what?
All right. It looks like this. Put the camera on me. Because if you think I don't know, I know, and I've seen it. This is Jake at a public event where I have removed my camera from my purse and pointed it vaguely towards him.
Jake, do the face.
And I have pictures to prove it because it doesn't stop me from taking the photograph. So we have brought in here from down the hall, Olivia, you remember him from down the hall. This is my husband, Ron.
Hi,
Oh,
Olivia.
hello.
Yep, from down the hall. And he is going to talk about cyberbullying and whether or not that is a prosecutorially, what's the word?
Prosecutable.
Prosecutable offense. Because there's been a lot of news about if somebody feels so bullied that they take their own life, that either the bully should be prosecuted, or maybe the parents should be prosecuted. So I sent Ron to do some research on the subject. Have you had any cases in your office that were sort of similar, involving some sort of stalking or bullying or something of that nature?
We actually did. And it was a very challenging case, and I don't think it ever got prosecuted for a couple different reasons, and I'll explain what the issues are. I had a case involving twin girls who were both molested by the mother's boyfriend when they were about 10 years old, 9, 10 years old. And kids at their school a few years later found out about it. And somebody went online and put a lot of stuff online of kind of detail about what had happened and identified the two girls and was really harassing them terribly. And the question is, what can you do about it? Can you put a stop to it? Well, eventually they went to Facebook and they got management to kind of shut it all down, and they were successful in doing that. And I think they were eventually able to identify who was doing it, but they weren't able to get to a stage where they could prosecute, because the only thing we really have nowadays are conventional stalking laws. And what are the stalking laws? Well, it's usually some guy is going after some woman and won't leave her alone, and leaves threatening notes and threatening graffiti and makes threats when he's with her, and she's just trying to get him out of her life, and he stalks her essentially. That can be prosecuted if his behavior is calculated to rise in her an urgent sense of fear for her well-being, for her life. And it has to be physical well-being. Not that she's being menaced, not that she's suffering emotional trauma from it, but a physical concern for her well-being, for her physical well-being.
Well, what can a child do? First of all, I just want to clarify that my husband Ron is a prosecutor, which means that his job is to prosecute,
Put people in jail.
right? But he works for. Describe how it works, because when I was a kid, I didn't know how all this worked, because I guess I didn't watch enough television, but because I thought the DA stood for defense attorney. Turns out it doesn't. It stands for district attorney. So what are the two
Well,
sides
you have three entities in a courtroom. There's the judge who rules on everything.
So we're talking about criminal law.
Criminal law.
Which is different from civil law.
Completely different from civil law. You've got a judge who rules on everything. On one side of the court is a defense attorney who represents the defendant, the person who's accused of a crime. On the other side of the courtroom is the prosecutor, also known as the deputy district attorney, who prosecutes the crime and tries to get the jury to agree that he's guilty of the crime. And if guilty, he then goes to jail for some period of time.
So what you do involves crimes.
Crimes.
Rather than lawyers who deal with this guy owes this guy money and there should be a civil settlement where they should pay because this person was wronged, and the reparation of that wrong is going to involve a payment of some kind, sort of like Judge Judy.
Exactly.
What you do is the defendant may actually go to jail. No money is ever exchanged.
Exactly. Now, the problem with the cyberbullying is, guess who's the one who's usually doing the cyberbullying? Got to get my gerunds right. Somebody who is
a kid.
A kid.
A minor.
What do you do with kids in the juvenile court system? And the answer, not much. The presumption for somebody who's under 18, if they do something wrong, is that you work with them so that they won't do the something wrong again. But you don't necessarily put them in jail or lock them up. In fact, the guidelines that the judges go on in juvenile court is the least restrictive accommodations that you can do for a child is what you're supposed to do. Whatever you do is geared toward helping the child reform themselves and learn how to behave properly.
But how do the laws change when there are new things that people can do? For example, there never used to be a law against sticking a camera on the end of a pole and putting it underneath people's dresses while waiting in line for movie tickets, because no one had ever done that before. So when the first videos appeared online of up people's dresses or whatever the heck was happening, and women became outraged and people became outraged, there's no law. Why isn't there a law? Well, because when times change, new laws need to be written. So how would, if there are currently no laws against cyberbullying, or even where the parents would be criminally responsible for the behavior of their child who is bullying a kid literally to death, what new laws need to be written, or is it a state-by-state situation when it comes to this type of behavior?
It's always...
What happened?
My headphones went out, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's always a state-by-state situation. States mandate what the local laws will be within their state. But the question of, can you change the law as facts and circumstances change? Sure. And in fact, that happens all the time. I mean, if you think about what existed at the time of the Constitution, at the time the Constitution was created, the fastest form of communication was on the back of a horse. Nobody knew anything about stem cell research or surrogate parenting or even abortion in a modern medical sense. So to be able to adopt laws that address those kinds of issues in 21st century America using a constitution that was drafted 200 years ago is always something of a challenge, but we do it.
I was Pony Express bullied.
You were Pony Express
bullied?
bullied?
Growing up on the prairie.
I'll bet you were.
Yeah.
That's what happens in Buffalo.
Keo has a question for Ron.
So, like, how long do you think it would take to write a new law or get a new law passed or fix this constitutional...
Well, you can draft a law fairly quickly if they're motivated to do it, but of course new laws have to pass both houses of Congress and within the state, and there are challenges to do that. The real issue that you deal with on these kinds of cases, harassment cases, okay? Most kids who harass another child are not necessarily saying things to the other child that would cause the child to think they're going to die. Mm-hmm. They're saying things that would cause the child to be humiliated and
Ronnie,
embarrassed.
just so you know, they do say things like, you should die. Why don't you kill yourself already? They say horrible, horrible things.
Well, again, that's different from, I'm going to kill you. Some night when you least expected you're coming home, I will be there with a knife or a gun and you'll be dead. That's different from you should kill yourself. They're both horrible. They're both horribly reprehensible in the extreme. Mm-hmm. But are they criminal? And the tragedy is that, and it's not so much a tragedy in the sense that we have a First Amendment freedom of speech in this country that we consider to be very, very important. So we're not inclined to restrict speech, even ugly speech. If you look at all the things that people say about politicians, what politicians say about other politicians, I mean, who doesn't get called a liar nowadays on national television? Every Republican candidate I know is calling Barack Obama a liar. And most Democrats are calling Republican politicians liars as well. It's protected speech in America. Now, the only exception, the only time that you can say speech is going to be criminally prosecuted is when it gets to a stage where it reasonably and objectively meaning a person watching would agree that the speech is so reprehensible and so threatening that it causes the person who's the recipient of the speech to believe that they are in great and imminent danger. Then it can be criminalized.
Mm-hmm. And I think parents need to supervise it before it gets to that point. And just if you see that your child is rattled by what she's reading online, take away her device. Don't let her look at it after 9 p.m.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. Nico?
What's the current online stalker laws if someone were to do something like this?
Well, you know, they're not so much online stalking laws, and I don't even know to what extent the legislature is dealing with those changes at the moment. But it's more conventional stalker laws, and they're pretty much as I told you. It's repeated behavior that's calculated to not just harass, but to place a person in repeated and serious belief that they're in danger.
But what happens to the kid then?
Well, if it's an adult, they can conceivably go to prison for up to 3 years. If it's a child, then they're part of the juvenile justice system, in which case every kid is treated differently. They may be placed in house detention. They may be placed in a group home. They may be placed in juvenile hall. They may be placed in youth authority, which is the kids' version of prison, actually the most serious form of incarceration. Usually kids who commit murder end up in youth authority, the most serious crimes, robbery, murder, rape. And they can be kept there until they're 25 years of age. That's the most serious that can happen to them. But usually you start at the very opposite end. In other words, they're disciplined, they're put into therapy, they're restricted in terms of their movements, but they never leave their home.
But talking to you kids for a moment about this, imagine, if you will, that somebody is just really harassing you. Can't you quit that account, start a new account, block that person, report everything they put? I mean, on every social network, isn't there a way to just shut down the activity of someone who's attempting to interact with you?
There is, but that doesn't stop the person from then deleting their account, making a new one, and continue to harass you.
If you look on Facebook, you're going to find, and not just Facebook, but Twitter and Instagram as well. There are hotlines that they advertise that you can contact immediately if something like that is happening to you, and they'll shut them down. They'll do that. And nowadays they're very attentive. And that was what we eventually were successful in doing, involving the twin girls, that the case that I was involved in.
But do you remember when we had somebody impersonating one of our complaining witnesses, and they created a blog and impersonated him, and it was at the beginning of Blogger and Google and all that, and there was nothing. We went to the FBI. There was nothing we could do to get that site taken off.
This was about 6 years ago, and I think things have changed.
I think
then.
so. So the law catches up.
It's not so much the law in this case. I just think that they're being more responsible. The engines, the internet engines that are responsible for maintaining these sites have now become very sensitive to the proliferation of that kind of behavior.
Have you been stalked online, Liv?
What?
Have you been stalked online or harassed online?
Oh, yeah.
And how did you handle it?
Well, I had to keep deleting accounts, and I had to change my number, and it was a process.
Because I do notice that some of the kids that I'm friends with through some of my various programs will suddenly friend me again, and so it looks like they've taken something down and started over. Is that something that a lot of kids go through?
I mean, I remember in middle school, so this is like kind of towards the beginning of Facebook, my account was deleted
because someone thought it would be funny to report one of my photos. Like, I had nothing on there that was reportable, but it was just, it used to be when you would report something, their account was deleted automatically.
Oh, wow. So you had to start all over again. Did you have...
Yep.
Did someone have a question? Jake.
Well, I had a point to make about
Okay.
the internet and how several years ago the internet was just kind of this untamed beast, and there was once it's out there forever and all that stuff. And while that's still definitely true from something that's like community positive, like if you, I don't know, say the whole leak situation, once it's out there forever. You're never taking anything off the internet. But the ability to control social networks and the communications between people is way crazier nowadays. And we've definitely, well, at the beginning of the internet and the birth of the internet, it just kind of like spread like crazy. And it was like the pioneer days where there was no laws, and if you killed someone, you took their land and their horses or something. Now we're definitely like the law is catching up with the internet. And while the internet is still expanding like crazy, the point is that the popular parts of the internet, which have developed because of the expansion, are now being like
Monitored.
yeah, they're being modernized and more controlled nowadays.
And do you think that, as someone who believes in sort of the freedom of the internet, do you believe that's a good thing, or?
Oh, well, for every person that's trying to, like, control the internet, there's, like, 8 super smart dudes in Germany or something who are... some crazy hackers in Germany are making their own internet on a satellite that you connect to with, like, lasers or something. I don't know what's happening with that, but for every person that's trying to control the internet, there's at least 8 other people who are making a newer internet which cannot be controlled. So the popular parts of the internet are not that place, but the crazy, like, Uber hacksaws part of the internet, they're unstoppable. There's no controlling that.
And that's part of what makes life fascinating. Do you have a point, Nico?
I don't really know what to say about this. I never really had to deal with cyberbullying. And the most I can get out of the freedom of the internet, which I'm mostly for, it's like, I want there to be all this free speech on there. This is like, I can talk to people from China, or, well, not from China exactly, but...
Yeah, that's the one place where they take your cell phone as you enter the country.
Oh, that was a bad example, but...
Yeah.
Really, I can talk to people from all over the world, except for China, and a few select places.
Facebook. It's called... Facebook.
Hey, you guys aren't allowed in.
It's just as good, only Chinese.
I'm worried right now about the balance that they're trying to strike between making it a safe internet for people to not get harassed, but still not limiting free speech, if you know what I'm saying. Like, for, like what he said, for every person who's going to be insulting another person, there's going to be a person who's throwing out controversial ideas. And I want to make sure both sides of those, one side is protected, the other side gets in trouble, but I don't want to make sure both sides get in trouble or both sides are let loose.
Understood. Good point. Q?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, with how Ron explained everything, it's going to lean more towards freedom of speech being okay and just stay in the right parts of the internet if you want to be safe. But I think that the most practical or likely solution is just kind of going to parents and looking at the parents and making sure that they're being like they're paying attention to what their kids are doing and everything. Nico?
Yeah, what you said, like with the parents definitely need to get involved in what your child is looking at on the internet, and especially what they're doing on the internet, because it is a very still untamed beast. And one thing I want to say, guys, when it's out there, please don't put anything embarrassing.
And also for parents, if you're watching the show tonight, what your kid is doing, he is probably not doing on the living room computer. He's probably doing on a mobile device. And parents need to be up to speed on what their kids are doing on their mobile devices, because it may look like he's just listening to music. He's probably not just listening to music. And I think schools should offer classes in, you know, it's possible to stay up to speed with the social networking that your child is doing. You just have to care enough to learn. But your kids are going to be one step ahead of you unless you make an effort to know what they're doing. And One of the things I wanted to talk about this week, but we didn't get to, but we'll talk about last week, was a parent who installed an app called App Certain on his kid's device, and the kid is outraged, and I thought that was a really interesting, controversial issue, and we'll talk about it next week. This Saturday, please tune into your tune-in section on your iPod device in the Our Place network for Our Place Games this Saturday at 11 a.m. Western Pacific Time, which would be 1 or something, or I'm not good at math. With Nico, Jake, Ryan, Aaron, and Austin. Our Place Games, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, Saturday.
It's gonna be sick, bro.
It's gonna be. You guys are gonna talk about Tetris, right?
Radical.
Yeah! Thanks for being with us, and thank you, Winter, and we will speak with you soon. We are Our Place Out Loud. Bye-bye, everybody.
Oh, is the internet? Oh, I started the credits just to sign it on.
What time are people? Why does it have to be 11? What time are people arriving at my house?
Stay in your room. Do not come out.
All the cool kids are going to be outside.
Ron can come
Well,
out.
she's already upset. They're starting work on the house tomorrow at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot more that has to be done. So
We are talking about the
I'm
whole
going to build a
censoring
brick wall
app or whatever
outside
thing.
her door.
Next week.
Next week, okay, good, yeah.
We ran out of time.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
love that topic.
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting. I didn't know you could do that. I thought you could do it on your cheat.
So how was winter?
Our place,